Have you ever done everything for a woman only to realize that you are gradually losing your self-respect? You try to make her happy, yield in every matter, sacrifice even the things most important to yourself, all because you think that's what love means? But the harder you try, the more exhausted you feel. The more you give, the emptier you become. And one day you realize that the one being neglected in that relationship was you. We grow up believing that a good man is one who is willing to do everything for the person he loves. But Stoicism teaches something different. Kindness without reason becomes a burden, and love without boundaries quickly turns into dependency. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not lose yourself just to be loved by others. A man can love with his heart, but he must live by reason. For if love requires you to trade your dignity, self-respect, and freedom, it is no longer love, it is bondage." In today's video, we will explore 13 things you should not do for a woman, boundaries that may seem small but can determine whether you remain self-controlled or lose yourself. For when you know how to protect your dignity, you not only earn respect, but also deserve to be truly loved. The first principle Stoic philosophy highlights is, don't assume her preferences. One of the most common mistakes in love is believing you understand someone better than they understand themselves. You buy gifts you think she will like, choose places you believe will make her happy, or make decisions for her in seemingly small matters. Your intentions may be good, but your approach is wrong. True care does not lie in guessing correctly. It lies in knowing how to listen. When you assume you know what she wants, you inadvertently place yourself in the role of a controller. Instead of respecting differences, you impose your own thoughts onto someone else. Stoicism teaches that things beyond our control, such as the emotions, thoughts, or preferences of others, never belong to us. And when we try to hold on to what is not ours, the only outcome is disappointment. A healthy relationship is built on understanding, not assumptions. You cannot truly understand someone if you only hear what you want to hear. The only way to understand them is to listen with full presence, without judgment, without rushing to react, simply focusing on what they say and how they feel. Sometimes what they need is not grand gestures, but someone who genuinely takes the time to understand where they are coming from. The second equally important principle is, don't ignore communication. Silence in a relationship is not always a sign of peace. Sometimes it is the growing gap between two once close souls who can no longer find common ground. When one person speaks and the other does not listen, each shared word gradually loses its meaning. Every time you ignore communication, you are not just overlooking a story, you are missing an opportunity to connect. Communication is not merely about speaking and listening. It is the presence of two minds, one genuinely seeking to understand, the other feeling truly heard. When you fail to respond, when you listen only to prepare a reply rather than to understand, you allow the gap between you to widen. A relationship begins to grow cold, not from a lack of affection, but from a lack of attention. Respect in a relationship is most clearly shown through the way we listen. A man who knows how to listen understands that he does not need to have an answer for everything. Sometimes it is enough to simply be there, calm, non-judgmental, not trying to fix anything, just so the other person feels seen and understood. That presence is more important than any advice or grand gesture. Do not let silence become the third party that comes between you. When communication fades, affection gradually drifts away. A rational man understands that speaking less is not always a sign of calm. Sometimes it is avoidance. Listening, however, is the highest expression of understanding and composure. When you truly listen, you are restoring the connection between two souls where respect and peace begin to take root. The third principle is, don't overprotect. Some men believe that love means absolute shelter. They want to shield the person they love from every pain, every difficulty, every failure. They think that if they handle everything, she will always feel safe. But the truth is, sometimes that very action makes a woman feel confined, while the man becomes a controller disguised as a caretaker. Overprotection is not love, it is fear. Fear that she might get hurt, fear of losing your place, fear that if she becomes too strong, you will become unnecessary. And from that fear, a man begins to control everything, advising her on what to do, who to meet, what to avoid, how to live. He thinks he is protecting her, but in reality, he is taking away her right to independence and growth. Love is not meant to turn a woman into someone weak. Every person has the right to experience, stumble, and stand on their own. When you do things for her, you take away the opportunity for her to become stronger, more confident, and more independent. Overprotection may seem caring, but over time it makes her feel small, confined within the safe cage you have built. Let her walk her own path, even if it makes you anxious. For a man who truly loves with reason understands that protecting does not mean overprotecting, but creating the conditions for the one he loves to stand strong in life. When you learn to let go at the right moment, you do not lose love. You make it freer and more enduring. The fourth principle is, don't restrict freedom. True love is not possession, it is freedom shared together. Yet many men treat love as a form of power. They want to know where she goes, who she meets, what she does, believing that this concern proves their affection. They fail to realize that each attempt at control shrinks the space in which their loved one can live, and traps themselves in anxiety as well. A woman does not need to be bound to stay. She stays when she feels respected, knowing she can be herself freely and still be loved. When you limit someone else's freedom, you reveal that you are not strong enough to face the fear of loss. The more you control, the more you prove that your love is weak, a love that requires monitoring, supervision, and constraints to exist. Freedom in a relationship does not mean laxity or indifference. It is trust built on a foundation of understanding and reason. When two people truly respect each other, they do not need to monitor every step of the other because they understand that trust is the strongest bond, and only with trust can both grow together. The fifth principle, don't assume she is dependent. In many relationships, men carry the belief that they must shoulder everything, be the pillar, and take responsibility for both. They see worrying, providing, or making every decision as their natural duty, assuming the woman beside them always needs protection and support. Yet this mindset, even when born from kindness, can easily make love unbalanced and burdensome. When you assume she depends on you, you inadvertently place yourself above her in the relationship. You begin to think you know what is best for her, that she needs you to feel safe and to live fully. Gradually, respect is replaced by condescension. From there, love is no longer companionship. It becomes a form of duty wrapped in a veneer of kindness. The truth is, no one wants to be seen as weak. Every woman has her own abilities, strength, and pride. When you allow her to show her power, you do not lose your position. You are respecting equality. A wise man does not fear if his partner is strong, independent, and self-reliant. He knows that love is only lasting when both stand firmly together, not when one must bear the weight for both. A healthy relationship is not built on dependence, but on autonomy and equality. When you trust her abilities, when you see her as a partner rather than someone who needs to be saved, you not only help her shine, but you also become a stronger, more grounded, and freer man yourself. The sixth principle is, don't force intimacy. Intimacy is a natural part of love, but it only holds meaning when it arises from voluntary and genuine feelings. Many men believe that physical closeness is proof of love, a measure of attachment. But when intimacy becomes pressured, it is no longer a connection. It becomes a form of possession. When you demand intimacy as a way to seek validation, you are no longer loving. You are seeking control. Some use gentle words to persuade, some create guilt to coerce, and some consider it natural in love. But any form of pressure, whether hidden in sweetness or anger, is a violation of another person's boundaries. Stoicism teaches that a virtuous person masters their desires. Lust, if left unchecked, can easily lead one away from the essence of respect. A mature man does not let fleeting emotions dictate his actions. He knows when to stop, respects boundaries, and understands that maintaining reason in the face of temptation is the highest expression of strength. True attachment is not found in the moment of physical touch, but in the sense of security when being together. When you make the one you love feel safe, respected, and able to say no without fear of losing you, that is enduring love. Let intimacy come naturally when both are ready, for what arises from freedom is always more lasting than what is forced through fear. Respecting boundaries is extremely important when it comes to women. Every person has their own space where they can be themselves, think, rest, and recover. In a relationship, boundaries are not walls that separate two people, but guidelines that help both know how to respect each other. When you violate someone else's boundaries, whether in thought, emotion, or action, you not only hurt them, but also undermine the balance necessary for love to thrive. Many men confuse care with control. They read her messages, interfere in her personal relationships, or constantly question where she goes and who she meets. These seemingly small actions are the quickest way to destroy trust. For love does not need to be monitored, it only needs to be trusted. When a person feels their boundaries are being violated, they gradually withdraw. Silence, distance, and disconnection do not come from physical space, but from a sense of no longer feeling safe. A woman needs to know that she can maintain her personal space without judgment. A mature man must be calm enough to accept that there are things he does not need to know and spaces he should not enter. Do not try to cross boundaries just to feel closer. Each time you do, you are not drawing nearer. You are pushing the one you love away. True intimacy does not lie in knowing everything, but in choosing to love while recognizing that the other person is a separate world, not entirely yours. The eighth principle is, don't make decisions unilaterally. A relationship is not a stage where one person stands at the center while the other plays the background. It is a space where two people share responsibility, listen, and respect each other. When you make all the decisions on your own, even the smallest ones, you send the message that the other person's opinion does not matter. Over time, this not only erodes trust, but also makes love feel lonely, one-sided, and exhausting. A woman needs to feel heard. She does not need you to always agree, but she needs to know that her perspective carries weight. When you actively ask, discuss together, and choose a direction together, you not only have built an equal relationship, but also give her a sense of being valued. And when a woman feels respected, she will willingly return that respect many times over. Even a small decision can make a big difference. When you decide on your own, you may resolve the situation faster, but you lose consensus. When you decide together, you not only find a better solution, but you also ensure that both stand on the same side. This is the foundation of a mature relationship. Two people looking in the same direction, both contributing their voice and sharing responsibility. Love is never a contest of who is right or wrong. It is the companionship of two souls who know how to listen and compromise. When you learn to ask before deciding, you do not lose control. You open the door to genuine connection. In that moment, you are not just a lover, but also a trustworthy partner. The ninth principle is extremely important. Don't enforce gender roles. In many relationships, gender stereotypes quietly shape how two people treat each other. The man feels he must shoulder responsibilities, make decisions, and earn money, while the woman is expected to care, sacrifice, and endure. When these roles are assumed as natural, love is no longer about sharing. It becomes an invisible burden. Gradually, instead of walking together, both begin to live within the patterns society has imposed. The truth is, no role belongs to a gender. Only responsibilities belong to each individual. A man can cook, care for children, and do housework without losing his strength. A woman can lead, earn, and make decisions without losing her femininity. When both are free to express their abilities and desires, they not only liberate themselves, but also make love more equal and genuine. Stoicism teaches that justice is one of the core virtues of humanity. Justice is not just an external societal law, but also the way we treat the ones we love. If you truly love someone, you cannot see them as someone who must do this or should do that just because of their gender. In love, two people do not stand in different positions. They stand side by side. When you share household responsibilities, listen to her opinions in important decisions, or respect her work and dreams, you are not losing your masculinity. On the contrary, you are demonstrating the maturity and confidence of someone who understands the value of equality. Fairness in love does not diminish gender. It allows each person to shine in their own way. Not taking emotions seriously is also a crucial key in a relationship. Emotions are the most honest language of a human being. Yet in many relationships, men often forget this. They believe they must be strong, rational, and never weak, and in doing so, they unintentionally overlook the emotions of others, especially the woman beside them. When she is sad, they say, "It's nothing." When she is disappointed, they say, "You're overthinking." And each of these words, whether intentional or not, leaves her with one clear feeling: she is not truly understood. When you dismiss someone else's emotions, you are dismissing the truest part of them. A person can endure disagreement, but it is much harder to endure feeling undervalued. She does not need you to solve every problem, nor to offer philosophical words. She only needs you to listen, long enough to feel the pain or joy she is experiencing. That listening not only helps her release her emotions, but also allows you to understand the real person you love. Emotions are not weakness. They are the instinct of life, a natural response when we love, fear, feel disappointed, or hope. A mature man does not avoid emotions. He learns to understand and manage them. For only by understanding the emotions of others can you learn to love them properly. Do not underestimate emotions, whether hers or your own. Emotions do not make a person weak. They make us deeper. A man can remain calm in the face of storms, but only when he understands and listens to emotions does he become truly strong from within. The 11th principle is, don't forget personal growth. When entering a relationship, many men forget that their journey does not end with love. They devote all their time, mind, and energy to the woman beside them until they realize they are no longer themselves. Every passion, hobby, and habit that once gave their life purpose is gradually replaced by the desire to make her happy. But when a person loses themselves, love will inevitably lose its meaning. A healthy relationship does not require anyone to sacrifice their dreams. On the contrary, it requires two people moving forward together, growing and developing together. If you stand still while the other keeps advancing, the gap between you will only widen. And when that happens, even if love remains, it is not enough to bridge the difference. Personal growth is not selfish. It is a responsibility. Responsibility to yourself and to the one you love. A man can only be a support when he stands firmly on his own feet. A barren soul cannot inspire, just as a tired person cannot protect others. When you read, learn, train, and maintain curiosity about life, you make yourself more reliable, not through words, but through inner maturity. Love does not define your worth. It is who you are, how you live, how you think, how you push beyond your limits that makes love strong. Do not let anyone make you stop becoming a better person. For when you cease to grow, love will also cease to follow. But when you continually strive to improve, you not only make your own life better, you also give the one you love greater peace of mind every day. The 12th principle, according to Stoicism, is don't diminish achievements. One of the subtlest expressions of ego in love is when you cannot genuinely rejoice in your partner's success. Envy does not always reveal itself in words. Sometimes it appears in a glance, a forced smile, or an insincere compliment. Yet no matter how cleverly hidden, she can still sense it. When you diminish the achievements of the one you love, even with an inadvertent remark, you hurt the pride and effort she has built. Every success, big or small, is the result of labor, perseverance, and belief. If the person closest to her fails to acknowledge it, she will not feel supported. She will feel alone, even within her own love. A mature man understands that the success of the woman beside him does not diminish him. On the contrary, it reflects his fortune in accompanying someone with determination, intelligence, and ambition. A person with self-respect does not need to compare, for he knows that love is not a race. Each has their own journey, and when two people truly love each other, one person's joy becomes the other's pride. Stoicism teaches that jealousy is the folly of the soul, for it blinds a person to their own true value. Instead of envying another's success, See it as a reminder that you too can grow and rise. A wise man does not fear the light of others, for he knows that their brightness does not diminish his own worth. The final principle Stoicism emphasizes is, don't compare her to others. When you begin measuring the woman you love against someone else, whether in appearance, personality, or career, you plant an invisible wound in her heart. No one wants to be compared, especially to someone they are not. Each person carries their own story, past and unique journey. Comparison distorts their true value. When you view the one you love through the lens of someone else, you no longer see her. You only see the shadow of the foreign standards you are chasing. A mature man understands that differences are not flaws, but what make each person unique. She may not be like anyone you've met, may lack what others have, yet she possesses qualities that no one else can replace. Love is not about seeking a perfect version, but about appreciating the honesty, naturalness, and sincerity of the one walking beside you. Do not let comparison turn love into a competition. Let it return to its true nature, a journey shared between two different people, both striving toward goodness. When you learn to appreciate rather than compare, love is no longer something to hold tightly. It becomes a space where both can be free and grow together. Through the 13 points just shared, we can see that in love, the most important thing is not how much you do for someone else, but how much you do while still staying true to yourself. Some actions may seem like love, but in reality, they are silent compromises of your self-respect. When you love and forget your own worth, when you try to please others by ignoring your own boundaries, that love will eventually leave you drained. Stoic philosophy teaches that true freedom comes when a person can master their own mind. This also holds true in relationships. You cannot control others, but you can fully control how you love, how you respond, and how you preserve your dignity. When you choose to love with reason instead of blind emotion, you're not making love cold. You're making it stronger and more mature. Remember, to love does not mean to lose yourself. Love is about growing better together. When you maintain calmness, respect, and self-worth in love, you don't just become a man who is loved. You become a man who is worthy of trust. If you found this video helpful, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. By choosing to respect yourself, you are not only protecting your love, but also safeguarding your own soul.